possibly defend yourself against a country of 1 billion people? You only have 18 million here.
Yes, indeed. We are facing the man in China who has the largest population among all the nations. But the outcome of competition or survival are not decided by sheer size of population, land, or the natural resource. Now, if you would permit me to joke, I'd like to tell you a very short joke first. How do you compare your ancient grand electronic wristwatch? Now, the size of the grandfather's clock is much larger and heavier than the modern electronic small watch. Even the pendulum of the ancient clock is much larger and heavier than the small watch. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
So my point is, it is not the size. It is the operational efficiency of the timekeeping that counts. As far as the timekeeping capabilities go, I think modern watch, small size watch, is much better than the ancient mechanical clock. Let me quote another example. Take Israel, for instance. Israel has only a population of 4 million, surrounded by 600 people. Now, if the survival is to be decided solely by the size of the population, perish. But Israel has won every shooting battle so far. So it is not the good you are that counts. Now also, talking about the population, in the conventional ground warfare, most times the number are important. 2 companies are always better than or stronger than 1 company. But, or 7 feet tall, or say 10 feet or 12 feet, and you have to go to hospital. So if we are talking about the population, oversized population of mainland China is a great problem. They have is their problem instead of their properties. Now, another thing we have to remember, this country in Taiwan is fighting against the entire people of mainland China. The people in both sides of Taiwan Strait do not hate each other. The issue is not among the people. We are not fighting against our own people. The real issue is how to let the people choose the way of life they want to have. So I think the large populations are in our favor. Sometimes we will have the support of the population, and we are not against the Chinese people at all.
Do you think that most of the people on the mainland are very discontent with communism?
I think they are getting fed up with the systems. The communism has occupied mainland China for more than 35 or 40 years or so. But now the living standard of the people are still very low.
Why?
Well, take population, for instance, is one of the major difficulties, and many other things. But basically, it is the whole system, and they want to go by what they call the socialist system. And that's why the growth has been so slow. I mean, the living standard for the people are so poor, and that's why they are not happy at all. However, and they find it very difficult to change. but they have to take it as a fact of life. But still, they are struggling against the current system.
Do you think that the Army of Red China would fight if commanded to invade Taiwan?
Yes or no? Let me tell you some example. I've been operating with the Navy for so long, and I did have many personal clash with the Red naval forces. And take Daqing operation, for instance. I operate in Daqing as a captain of a destroyers. And we encounter many enemy ships and air bombing. Now they came in a huge formation, say 9 Tu-2 and escorted by some fighters. And they did rather well, even they did not hit me. I say they fought well, then we pull out the heavy anti-artilleries against them, and sometimes we even score hit on one of the aircraft. But they kept their formations well. So your question asking me if they will fight or not, I would say yes. But we found some other instance. For instance, I'm talking about my personal experience. There was sometimes they have reconnaissance or a single pilot fighter. They came up trying to find us, and we overheard from their communication, and they could see us. We were ready to shoot at them, but they did not want to get too close to us. Now, why sometimes they fight so well, and sometimes they don't? The reason is when they are in a group, when they are organized, when they are controlled by their political systems, and they have no choice, they will have to fight. That if they could have a choice, like a single-seat independent fighters, and they do not want to fight. So to answer your question, will they fight or not? Under the compulsory situation, and they will have to fight, like their soldiers in Korea. But if they really have choice, if we have some way to break their political control system, I think their soldiers just do not want to fight, especially against us. Let me tell you again, the people in both sides do not hate each other. After all, we are of the same race. And so whoever tried to solve the difference by forces will not be supported by the mass of the nation.
Do you think there's a strong will here among the people to defend themselves against a potential invasion?
Oh yes, we have done so well during the past 35 years or so, and we are quite well off, and everybody has something to defend. For instance, a few days ago, I toured around a car manufacturing factories, and I'm talking about Yulong. They manufacture so many cars per month. I asked them who bought the cars, and they told me the farmers. So if you drive around in this country along the highway, you see the countryside, you see all these modern new cars parking in front of the farmers' houses. So they have something to protect. I think everybody wants to keep on going, enjoying the economic prosperity. I think they have something precious to themselves to defend this island.
Well, Admiral, is there less danger of war now that Mao Zedong is dead?
Maybe you may say it this way, because Mao Zedong was so crazy at one time. Take Crimean crisis for instance. It was the order and started by Mao Zedong. But I wouldn't say the tension is getting less. Basically, It depends upon their priorities. And they have so many problems they have to solve themselves. I think they are pretty occupied with so many things that they have to deal with first.
Well, Admiral, we have much news in America about China opening up, about its liberalization.
Yes.
Is that true?
I will agree with you in general. But this does not mean the reduction of tension between us. Let me tell you why. For instance, because they open up, they have more access to the new technologies. And they are trying so hard to bring into mainland China so many new technologies, and including the position of weapon systems. Take USA, for instance. Only the last year, they have bought, say, the helicopters, 24 of them, the Skorsky's helicopters, and they have paid the money, amount to about 100 millions US dollars worth of helicopters, which could be used as armed helicopters. And they have determined engine for their Navy, tow missiles, and tow arrays of sonar, and so many other facilities for their artilleries. And they have the biggest artilleries among all the armies. Now they got the new technology of improving themselves.
Do you fear that they might use those arms against you here?
It is possible. In the military, we do not rely so much on their intention, which up to them to decide. We are talking about the capabilities. As far as their capabilities go, and they have the means if they want to.
You don't feel that there's any lessening of the danger of war between you?
I said a moment ago, the only thing preventing them, perhaps, at this moment to really go and attack us are because they are so much occupied with many other problems. Now, let me tell you some of the deployments, for instance. Talking about this air front, and they recently have reorganized their military zones. But now, as far as the air campaigns go, they divide themselves into a few fronts. They call it the North fronts, which are against the Soviet Union. The East fronts are facing us. And then they have the Indian fronts and the Vietnamese fronts. Now, take the air bases, for instance. They have 99 airfields in the northern front and about 23 airfields facing us, and out of which I think they have about 44% of their fighters are positioning in the east front, which are against us. They have only 30%. I'm talking about the fighters only against the Russian front. The rest are for the other zones.
Well, why is that, Admiral? They have nothing to fear from you.
They may not have too much to fear from us as far as the current battle of orders go. But you know, it is the success we have make it so much for them. They have to prevent us making a too good an example, causing the people asking to improve their the living standard and so forth. I think from a certain angle, they worry us much more than they worry anybody else. And after all, we know them better. We speak Chinese. We came from mainland China. And they have special reasons to be fearful of us. Not because we want to attack them, but because we
are the only success.
Yes, sir.
Well, Admiral, your equipment, your airplanes, your military, all of your military equipment is becoming obsolete now. Where are you going to get arms?
Well, we have to do it from two sources. One is to get it all by ourselves, and we are working very hard on that. We do have a good R&D facilities. We are not without success, but it always takes time, you know. We try to have a breakthrough on certain technology, but you know, you need luck and very good talents of doing that. So far, if I may tell you, we are capable of doing so many what we call incremental improvements. If we get a new weapon system, we could improve on that. We are doing quite well on that. But to entirely manufacture something very new, and we are still struggling with some success, but not entirely the things we want to have. So to fight a war, for instance, for the next week, and we need the purchasing from the more advanced country before we could do it all by ourselves. And that's why we are doing two things. One, to do it ourselves, and the other, we are trying to get it from abroad, from whatever sources we could get. But mainly we want to get it from USA because of the training system, because the logistic system. Everybody has to standardize its weapon systems. We've been working so closely with the USA in the past.
But so the USA is refusing you the arms you need, no?
We are still getting some, but not the most urgent things we want. For instance, if we ask for about 10 most critical items, we may get 5 of them, and still will be turned down by 5 of the things we need mostly. We are not entirely turned down by the USA, but we do get something.
Well, what are the most critically needed items?
We have been making it so clear to the America, and we need the high performance aircraft. Because this is an island, we need the campaign, the defense of this island depends so much about the local air security and the control of the seas. So what we need most urgently is the anti-submarine warfare equipment and also the air defense equipment. So I think it is the aircraft we need mostly, urgently.
Admiral, do you think there's any possible danger of war between the Soviet Union and the mainland China?
The current situations shows is not likely to have a shooting war between them. My time is running out. I think I better tell you in a very short reason. Let me tell you, I think being weaker, the PRC or the Communist China will not attack the Soviet Union because Soviet Union is much stronger. If they try to attack Soviet Union, they get beating themselves. So they will not shoot first because they are weaker. Now, being stronger, the USSR will not attack the China either. Now, I'll tell you why. Because the Soviet Union will gain nothing by attacking China and will lose nothing by not attacking China. Sometimes you go to war, you get nothing, but if you don't fight, you have some other negative damage or effect, so you still want to fight. For the USSR, let me say it again, they will gain nothing by starting the war, and they will lose nothing by not to fight a war. So I think the chances of having a shooting war among them are very little.
Do you think there are any chances of a rapprochement between the Soviet Union and mainland China?
They are increasing their trades along the borders, and they are trying so hard to improve their relation in so many respects. But you might say their foreign policies right now is announced by the communists, and they try to keep reminding both the Soviet Union and USA that, and they do not want to link up too closely with neither one of the superpowers. They just want to be in the middle. This is what they said to the rest of the world. At least they want to do that. They want to tell the third world more so.
Admiral, there are many people in the West these days saying that you have an atomic weapon. Is that true?
Well, we don't have atomic weapons, and we have not made, or we are not going to make any bombs. The government has made it so clearly that we are not going to manufacture any nuclear weapons.
You have the potential to do it, of course.
I would say yes. As you know, there was a story of a undergraduate students who almost had to be dropped out, and then he went to the library working so hard and coming up with something. Of course, in our research and development facilities, we have much more talents or the numbers of qualified people than the first team of Manhattans, which, if I recall, amount to only hundreds or so engineers and scientists who make the bomb. Now, if anybody are not too lazy to read all the materials, and they will come up with the knowledge of how to make bombs. I'm talking about the undergraduate students. Of course, after so many years of having the bomb made by other advanced countries, I think we do know how to do it. But we're not going to do it, I must say it again. I'm sorry.
We're not rolling? Okay, tell me, you're rolling now? Right. Admiral, if you could not get sufficient arms from the West to defend yourself, would you consider accepting arms from the Soviet Union?
I would say no. Nobody in the armed forces or in the government, I believe, have ever considered of the possibility of getting the arms from the Soviet Union. If you really know our history of dealing with the Soviet Union, you should know in the past there have been many occasions the Soviet Union's offered to us of having some working relationship with them. I'm talking about even before the Japanese War and during the Japanese War, even after the Second World War. But every time we just decide not to work with the Soviet Union.
Why?
Well, have you ever read a book called Soviet Russia in China, written by our late President Chiang Kai-shek? To give you the answer, I think I better refer to the book. If you find time, the books are all there. To make it very short, we never trusted the Russian. We think it's no good to do business with them. If I may borrow a saying by Bonaparte Napoleon, who has been quoted of saying, anytime when the Russian Shah smile at you, if you have the right kind of mind, it's about the time you better draw your gun.